So we'll start the session. Before we start, uh, I would like to tell just briefly about the .NET. What is .NET framework? So, as you know, .NET is based on C Sharp, but earlier it was on F Sharp. So, .NET framework was developed in response to the Java applications. When if you see the Java applications was widely become very popular, and earlier .NET language prior to .NET we are using COM and DCOM, right? So to compete with Java and make the Microsoft technology more competitive, they come up with a language called F Sharp, and later on they changed the language to C Sharp. Okay, so now mostly although .NET Framework supports F Sharp, VB as well, and also as well as C Sharp. Okay, and C Sharp is the primary language for .NET. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll share my screen. And we will just write a simple program. Then again, we'll come back and decide and discuss the history of the .NET. Okay. So to run .NET Core applications, you can use Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. But to write .NET framework, you need a Visual Studio. Okay. So I'll be using the latest version of Visual Studio 2022.
Okay.
So you can select continue.code. For the time being, I'm just trying to open one simple program to just to show you. Later we'll discuss in detail, but just I'll show you the just hello world. And we'll choose a console application.
I'm seeing just the video screen. Is it still loading or?
Yes, seeing various screens. Okay. Can you see my Visual Studio?
No, just the video call screen I'm seeing.
Okay, and let me reshare. Can you see my Visual Studio?
Yeah.
And can you see a pop-up called configure your new project console app .NET framework?
No, it's just a black screen.
Okay, let me, maybe I need to share one more. Can you see now? I just opened the Visual Studio.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll start from the beginning since you state. If you see new project, okay, and then C sharp, and here you can choose from the framework. Otherwise, it will list out. Okay, and you can select. So for the timing, we'll just go to the console app because just I want to print hello. Okay. Yeah, choose .NET 8. I will discuss on the .NET 7 .NET 8.
Okay.
you can see there's written console dot write line. So we'll not like write like this. This is the very latest version. So we'll do a uh, same C sharp style coding, public void main method. It will be under class. And I just click on the run command. Yes, see, it printed hello. So my main purpose is this to show you that if you're familiar with C sharp or C++, this is also object-oriented language. Okay. So behind the scenes, what is happening, just wanted to show you. Okay. So what happens when we write a program? Okay, first level, what happens is it compiles, okay, and
Mm.
creates a exe. This is a static void main. So we have two kinds of executables. One is DLL, another is exe. Okay. So it creates a exe file and the and it invokes that exe file and since this exe is basically console application, it console is open and hello world is printed. Okay, that is very basic kind of program that we write. So so this all is done by with the help of .NET framework. Okay, so now let's discuss the .NET framework. So .NET framework latest version I think 4.7. X, maybe it may be 8 or something. I need to check. Okay, so if you so now it is being 4.7.x, and the latest framework of latest C sharp is C sharp 8. Okay, the language is also evolving, and .NET framework is also evolving. Also, recently, like a couple of years before, .NET has become open source. Okay, and that initially they were calling us as .NET Core. So .NET Core means so initially what happened is .NET framework is only targeted for the Windows systems. That means the .NET framework runtime will only run on the Windows systems, and you have to write specifically targeting the Windows systems. Okay.
Mm.
Although through Mono, there is another runtime they developed called Mono, which you can install and run on the Linux systems, but those were very basic. Okay, you cannot do any kind of advanced programming, and there that has a lot of limitations. Okay, since Java was getting more popular and it is cross-platform, okay, all the parallelly also other languages also evolving like Python and all, where you can write a program and run in many systems. So and also Azure, Microsoft is targeting more into cloud, so they need developers to more familiar with the Microsoft systems. So they come up with
Mm.
an idea to make it open source and also cross-platform. For that, they create something called .NET Core. Okay. So .NET Core will have another session where I will explain how .NET Core works. But in this session, we'll mostly focus on the .NET framework. Okay.
Okay.
So in .NET Core, what happens? They made it open source, and later they call it as simply .NET. Okay. If you see visit Microsoft site, okay, you can see developer.net. Okay, so they're not calling it .NET Core anymore. They're calling simply as .NET. Okay. Although during interviews and resumes, like they will ask you whether you know .NET Core. Okay. So don't get
Okay.
confused. they are like now .NET 8.0 or .NET 7, .NET 5, okay, all are same. Okay, they are part of .NET. And to let's say you have existing applications. You have an existing application, and you want to write a new on the top of that, you want to write another application, okay, using that, but you want to support both the frameworks. So there's something called .NET Standard. So, for example, you have a web applications which is .NET framework, and to support this, you want to write one library, okay. And in future, you want planning to migrate to .NET framework to .NET 8 or .NET whatever the latest versions will come. So to make the code work both ways, you can take the help of .NET Standard. So something you should see when you select a project. Okay, we'll discuss it again when we will create the libraries and all. There's options to go for .NET Standard. Okay.
Okay.
Here actually I have not installed the template, so it is not showing. Otherwise, it will show. You need to since this is the latest version that I have installed of this 2022, .NET Standard is not coming. Okay, but there is an option to select. Okay, we will come into that when I'll explain the details. When we move from .NET Framework to .NET Framework 1 session, I will explain this one. Okay. So
Okay. .NET
let
Standard is the old version or?
yeah, it is all open source now. Okay,
Okay.
in the source code also they have made it. That is all the GitHub, and also it is like there are no cost involved. Even the Visual Studio 2022 community edition is free. Let's say you are an individual developer, contributor, or maybe a freelancer. Okay. Earlier, Windows Visual Studio was paid. Okay, it is still paid, but the community edition. So when you install Visual Studio, that I forgot to mention. Okay, so if you want to install Visual Studio, you have to just type on Visual Studio download, select the Visual Studio tools, and install the community edition. Okay, don't install anything as it is written free, right?
Yeah.
It is already written open source contributors and easy. So it is very easy steps. You just have to download, click on next, okay, and
Yeah.
it will install. Okay, and if it asks which framework to which language to support, select C sharp. Okay, although it asks what are the systems you want to develop. Like when you start installing, since I install, I cannot show you. So you select all possible options, or maybe at least select the Windows applications and web apps. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Um, so yeah, we will see. If you face any issues, I'll be there to help you. Okay. So first
Oh,
is tools that we are going to use is Visual Studio, and the language we are going to use C sharp for backend for development. For development. So coming back to the .NET framework. So how .NET framework works? So .NET framework is a runtime which runs on the top of the operating system. So uh, so what happens is like when you run an application, when you write an application in C sharp and you do a build, a DLL is generated. Okay. So a DLL or EXE, both are called executables. Okay. And that those DLL do not directly runs on the operating systems. Let's say you are writing a application in C. If you, in your college days, you remember you have written an application in C, and you just invoke the console.write line. The program actually asks the operating systems or instructs the operating systems to run the program. Here, it directly doesn't ask the operating system, rather it asks the runtime, and runtime, uh, with the help of operating systems and maybe on his own, some of the resources he can directly access and runs the program. So what happens is, you have an operating system, maybe mostly it is Windows, but in .NET it may be Linux and Apple also. So let's say we are working on a Windows systems. So first, when you install .NET framework, it takes it takes its own memory, own runtime. It has own security, lot of things. Just similar to operating system, but not entirely. Okay, it works in conjunction or in parallel to the operating systems. Okay, the of that is that let's say it operating systems is getting changed. Okay, or it has done some changes. So it is independent the uh, of of that operating system. So you do not have to make any change in your code to adjust to the operating system. Let's say you move from Windows 11, later Windows 12 come, you are downgrading to Windows 10 or Windows 7. You don't have to rewrite your program. Okay, in most of the cases, it will work. Okay, maybe some of the system settings or may something other may have to change. Okay? On the core section of the program, we do not have to change. Okay, the second thing is that it does its own memory management. So memory management is a very difficult task. Okay, and doesn't rely on the operating system. It does it on its own. Okay, we'll talk on that briefly. I'll not explain bit on the how memory management works. There is a like level one, level zero, that kind of thing in the memory management. We'll discuss in detail. Third thing is that security aspect. Okay, .NET framework also is inbuilt security features. Let's say you have some malicious program you're trying to write, and that somebody is trying to write, and it is actually targeting some of the kernels or something of the operating systems. It has its own mechanism to prevent and stop the program. Okay, let's say you have written an infinite for loop, and it is going to take like your application is taking huge resources, so it will stop. In that case, it will also protect the operating systems, because some of the times as a developer we do not put much focus on the operating systems, and we lose we are not not a system programmer that know the every tiny many details of the operating system. So we just mostly focus on the our core commercial software development. So that's why .NET framework helps you on this. And coming to the Visual Studio, it has a lot of templates. So just now I show you how we developed console applications. Right now, you want to develop a web applications. So applications, earlier it was like ASP.NET. Now it is ASP.NET MVC. Also, we have something called Web API. In mobile applications, we have the Xamarin. Okay, and a lot of other things. Also, it supports now. They're supporting Python in Visual Studio and all. So it has their own inbuilt templates. So when I write a program, I don't have to write everything like what are the dependencies it needs. Okay, so some of the basic things it already creates. Okay, so that if you're writing something on a Python or something, you have to take care of a lot of things. You have installed correct dependencies or not correct run, and to run the Python applications, you need to install do some settings change. All the things is not needed in this case. Okay, it's very simple. You just have to download the Visual Studio and install. Okay.
Okay.
So coming back to the C sharp. Okay. As per the course content, I'll share my screen here. Okay. Yeah, .NET Framework different versions already discussed. So, but I'll show you from the .NET docs. You can get it from here. I'll paste in the chat.
Okay.
We'll work on the latest version, so nothing to be worried. I think like yeah, it will like 4.7.x. Okay. And this is where you can install the Visual Studio. Okay. There is one more thing called Visual Studio Code. I'll explain.
And you said 4.7 right for .NET Framework.
Yeah.
But when we open it, showed .NET 8.0, right?
Can you speak a bit louder? I'm not able to hear you.
When we opened the .NET project, it was showing .NET 8.0. So
.NET 10.0.
8.0.
Okay. Yeah. So .NET 8 is .NET Core. Okay. So when we say .NET 8, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
as you said, like initially if you remember, earlier days, it was .NET. When I started my career, it was .NET framework 2 point something. Okay, then .NET framework 3 came, 3.5, 3.7, then .NET 4, 4.5, 4.7 is going on. So this is the normal .NET framework. Okay. Now,
Okay.
couple of years before, they come up with something called .NET Core. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Mm.
.NET Core 1, .NET Core 2, and they renamed it as simply .NET. Now they are not calling as .NET Core. Even when you download Visual Studio and you are installing .NET 8, okay, it has both.
Mm.
Like you can do the programming using .NET Framework 4.7. Also, you can use simply .NET 8. So .NET 8, when we say, it is called .NET Core. So let's say in interviewer asking, have you worked with .NET Core? So basically, it's talking about .NET Core plus the .NET 5, .NET 7, .NET X. Okay.
Okay.
So now they're not calling it .NET Core. So if you see in the Microsoft side, they know where they mention as .NET Core. They simply say .NET 8. Oh, okay. Otherwise, .NET 7 something. Okay. So to start with, I'm not explaining with very much detail. As we start coding and as we start, I'll start with bit more explanation on this, because if I explain a bit more, it will be very too much theoretical, and it will not help you to understand. Also, it doesn't, like, whatever I'll tell you, it will not be asked in the interviews. It will most focus on the your OOPS concept, then your database connections, and later on your some of the questions on the web applications, like have you worked on the MVC, have you worked on web APIs or not. Then they will ask on the authorization, authentication, this kind of things. So we'll more target on the practical knowledge rather than theoretical, because theoretical will come along with when we do the coding. So everything we will do here is practical. I will not show you any kind of copy paste. We'll do the coding and we'll understand from there. Okay, rather than just copy pasting from the pre-existing some code. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, regarding the course content on the C sharp. So as you see, the backbone of the .NET framework currently is C Sharp, although it supports VB, .NET, and F Sharp, but they are, I think, very. This is just to support the older applications which are already written in F Sharp or VB.NET, but mostly 90% of applications is written in C Sharp. Okay, so everything you can search and every material is already available. Okay, so this is now the latest version of C Sharp is C Sharp 12. Okay. So I'll explain what are the new features has come, but we will use some of the basic features of C Sharp. So if you see, when I start writing the code, it was only written console. I'll just go back. Okay, it was written console.writeLine, but I
Mm.
changed it and I write in the proper format. Okay, so we will start on the basic concept of C Sharp, like earlier, like 4 5 years before. What was the C sharp? Okay, it has class, it has all the basic syntaxes and access specifier, all the keywords. Okay,
Mm.
and later on we will see what is the difference with the current C sharp latest version, C sharp 12. Okay, because what happens is when you go for an interview job, all the companies, they may not be using the latest version. Okay, although they may be using latest version, but many of the developers are not familiar with the latest features. They will be keep on using the same old code, and in many cases what happens is they just migrate the version. Okay, so the syntax and code will not be migrated, right? So we have to
Mm.
understand what is the namespace, what is the class. Okay, what is a method? What is method return type? What is access specifier? Okay, what is the input parameters? Then we have to understand the OOPS concept, like abstraction, inheritance, okay,
Mm.
encapsulations. What does it mean? Okay, and why it is needed. Then these are the basic concepts. Once this is covered, we will go for a, like, along with that we'll cover the uh, like looping. Okay, different operators like and, or, then XOR, this kind of operators. Then loop, while loop, for loop, if else conditions, case statements. These are very basic of any language. If you start with any language, these are the things, basic things, whether it's a Java, Python, or something. Okay. Although
Okay.
in Python there may not be a concept of class, but yeah, but rest of things are same, right? So if you learn any language, it will use the minimum basic things you need to start writing any kind of code. Now, after that, we have to go to advanced concept like something called advanced features like delegates, generics, anonymous class, anonymous functions, parallel classes, parallel methods. Okay, the threads, using parallel methods, how they are doing parallel for loop. Then how to create threads using TPL, task parallel libraries. Then we have to come with the generics. Okay. Then
Mm.
collections. Collections means list, dictionary, stack, queue. You might have heard this term. Then we'll go for database connections. Database connections using ADO.NET. Then entity framework. Entity framework is a lot of things like your code first approach, DB first approach, model first approach. What approach actually follows in the real time coding or in the industry that we will discuss. Then we will
Okay.
come to the web application that is called MVC. Okay, and after MVC we will also discuss about the web APIs. So most of the companies uh, they are now actually bifurcating their applications. Mostly Java or .NET they are writing using they are writing as a API. Okay, and web
Mm.
applications they are creating either React or Angular. Okay, so maybe you if you join a job they ask you to write a code in MVC, or they simply ask you to create API. Okay, and then the front end they will write using React or Angular. So all these things we will discuss on the later as the thing as and when we progress. So today topic is all about the .NET framework. I just briefly touched upon the .NET framework. Okay. Once we do the coding, I'll pause and we'll reflect back and to understand what is more on the .NET framework. Okay. So as I can see, also .C# 13 has also come, but I think it is preview. I need to see. Uh, no, it is
Okay.
full version. I need to check whether it is preview or it is just the latest version. Okay. So as of now, we will not focus which version we are using. We'll start with the basic C#. Okay. As you can see, C# 6 or 7. Okay. And then directly
Mm.
we'll see the latest version, what are the new features that they have. Okay. That will it will be more helpful for you. And um, yeah. So first thing you need to do is today is to just to download the Visual Studio Code. Okay. Download the Visual Studio Code. Then upon downloading, I'll repeat the steps again. You just have to do file new project. Okay. Then choose C# or platform project types. You just select console and then you may choose .NET framework. Don't choose console app. Okay, it is again .NET. Okay, that means I'm saying it is .NET Core. Okay, instead
Okay.
of .NET Core, you choose .NET framework. Click on the next. Okay, and you can give whatever name, maybe test tab or something, whatever you can. Okay,
Mm.
and create. So yeah, this is the earlier style. Okay, so what initially I showed you is on .NET framework, but this is the most earlier was .NET Core, now it is called .NET framework. Okay, so we will
Okay.
do some basic coding using this one .NET framework. Okay, syntax going to .NET 8 or .NET Core, the syntax are the same. Okay, maybe some of the advanced features of C# has been introduced, but that doesn't matter much. But the internal structure of the C# is remains same. Okay, so yeah, coming back, so you can just write something called console.writeline and run the program. To run the program, you need to click on the start. Okay, then in the next session, I'll explain on the debugging part of how to debug a program. You can write a console.writeline and you can run the program. Okay, clicking on
Okay.
start here, it will run the program. Okay, and since also I will use this opportunity to tell you something about the file structure here. Okay. So when you run a program, and we are talking strictly in terms of a console applications, okay. In web application, something, some extra files are added that we will discuss, okay. So, but main important file you can see is the CS proj file. So this is a very important file when you want to open any applications. Okay, this, let's say this is an existing application. You close down your Visual Studio, and tomorrow you are coming and you want to open. Okay, so what you need to do, you have to click open project, or since it's an existing application, you have to click on this, and you can click on the project. Okay, and there's something called SLN also. So SLN means what? You can have multiple applications within a solution. Okay, let's say you create a solution. Let's say you have created a web applications. So you want to segregate your database logic into one project. Your other connections like utility classes, my file reading, file writing, another project. Your business logic into another project. So you can create 3 projects under one solution. Okay. So again, when you create a, again we'll go, if you see the new project, it will hmm, file new project. Okay, .NET framework. You can see solution name it is asking, right? So you can create, you can give, let's say you are creating an application for some company, for some application. So as per your HLD or LLD, you create a solution. Later on, whenever you create any other project, okay. So let's say this is already existing solution as we created. So what I'll do is, you can see solution test app is written, right? Right click and new project. Okay, so another project will be added to this same solution. So this is a way we are actually creating a single collections of multiple related applications to run our related projects to run our application. Okay, means we can um, collect or aggregate all our projects into one solution. Okay, and each of the solution will have a project file. So yeah, this CS project, we can right click and see the contents of this also. It's very simple file. Mm, I'll open using Notepad. Okay, because if you open with Visual Studio, means it will open as an application. Okay, so yeah, uh, we'll discuss in detail, but I'll just simply touch upon. So it tells us which platform it is targeting, which configuration, means now we're running in debug mode. So when we go for production, we just move to release. So some of the things which they do on debug mode, like they have to keep an eye on the applications to, if any application, any exception happen, it has to stop, because a programmer is running the application, right? But when in the release mode, it will run independently. There is no intervention from the programmer or tester or anyone. So there we change the mode to release. Okay. Then a lot of other things, some of the libraries they need to run the application. So these are the basic libraries you need, minimum things you need to run the console applications. Okay. Um, and it also tells what are the files the compiler will compile. Okay. And the configuration file, let's say you are connecting to a database, and the connections details, the database server details and all, we call it connection string, we want to keep. The connection string for production will be different, for development will be different, for release and UAT will be different. So you can, instead of hard coding that in the code, means if you hard code, that means you have to give a new release every time. Instead that you put it in the configuration file. In case of console application, it is called app.config. In case of web application, it is web.config. And in case of .NET Core or .NET, it is it is again it is again app.config. Okay, app settings.json. Sorry. Okay. So basically, just any kind of values or things or keys or connection string which are dynamic, which changes upon the environment, you put it in a configuration file. So it can be app settings.json, app.config, web.config. Okay. Now next is your properties folder. So properties folder assembly info.cs is there. We can open it from here also. Let me show you. So this is all about your versioning. Okay. So let's say when you do a, I said we have to do a build release. Means when we give, we change the mode to release mode. So somebody will, let's say you are giving release every month. So your application needs some certain versioning, certain copyright claim, copyright details. Okay, some of the names, all these things you'll do in the assembly.cs. Okay, so each time you're giving a release to your for your production release or UAT release, you keep on changing this version. But while development, we mostly don't touch it. Okay, this is so this mostly about the details of the application, what version it is, what major version, minor version, which company you're writing application, trademark, all these things. You can keep it in this. Okay. In this 1 minute, my charge is getting low. Yeah. So for today, you don't have to do anything. You just have to, since you have done from not touched the studio from long, simply install the Visual Studio and just click on the whatever steps I told you. I'll share my video also for reference. Click new
Hmm.
project and create a project. Console.write line hello. Just simply do that. And in the meantime, you can check these files. What are the files there is there inside that? And you can just go through some of the document if you want on the .NET framework, or we will discuss in detail as and when we do the coding. We'll discuss the features of the .NET framework. It will be very helpful for you to understand rather than I'll simply say the .NET framework, all this, like I'll explain n number of points and we'll simply leave it. Instead of doing that, let's do practical sessions and understand what is .NET framework, how it works, along with the program, how you write a program, how you write a software. Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Sure.
we'll conclude the sessions. We'll not make it long. So I'll stop sharing.
And where can I find the recordings?
I'll share the recordings with you. I'll what I'll do is I'll put it in a Google Drive and
Okay.
I'll share the link. I'll put it in a WhatsApp. If you don't have access, I may need your Gmail ID or something to share. Okay.
Yeah, you
Mm,
can sure
yeah,
send it. I can chat,
you can.
send you a
Yeah.
chat message.
Hmm, okay. Yeah, I got it. So, any questions, Suganya?
No, I'm good, Naresh. Yeah.